And we're back. We're ready to wrap this up, and we're ready to kind of take a trip on the weird side with these next two issues. And that's all I got to say. So let's start them off. Harley Quinn #1, Afterbirth. Harley Quinn recounts her history. She takes two people on a tour of New York. The flashback to 98 hours ago. An alien ship crash lands at a farm. The alien can shapeshift, and he shapeshifts into a cow. He ends up in the slaughterhouse and is taken to the butcher. He ends up being processed into hot dog meat. The people eat the meat and become zombie infected. Harley and the Red Tool encounter the infected and battle their way out of danger to a rooftop. Can you start this one off for me, please?
When we first started the DC Rebirth titles, I knew, not having read that well into the New 52, one of these was going to bite me, that I hadn't kept up with what was going on. Harley Quinn's the one that bit me. When you open this up and she has her own burlesque show, so to speak, of her groupies, her own little team, I sat there and said, what? Huh?
I like Harley Quinn as a character. And at the very beginning, when she is with Poison Ivy and they're discussing what's going on, there is some depth to this character. There's a lot of depth to Harley Quinn. Mm-hmm. And she even talks about it when she recounts her origin of how she was a very smart psychiatrist and she wanted to go undercover to understand the criminal element, particularly the Joker. Mm-hmm. And the Joker, she played a lot of different roles, and the Joker liked her being the damsel. Mm-hmm. So that's the role she played. So she's a very, very layered character. But then we get kind of silly with this whole aliens landing. He shapeshifts into a cow, gets slaughtered, eating the hot dog, and then we have a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
That was a little too much for me right now.
Yeah, one of my pet peeves in comics is when you have characters who rely on their physical skills and their wits, and they're kind of the more streetwise characters like, the Punisher and Daredevil and Harley Quinn and Batman. It makes more sense for them to fight more terrestrial villains. I mean, having the Punisher fight aliens has happened. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Right.
It's like, what's the point to that? I mean, she has a very interesting life going on right now. She has her own show. She owns a couple buildings. She has this entire group, and then she's fighting a kind of generic zombie outbreak, which has an interesting origin, which I found very similar to the Skrull Kill Crew comics in Marvel Comics, where Skrulls go to Earth, they disguise themselves as cows, they get killed. When the people eat the cows, they get Skrull powers. Here you have a shape-shifting alien who was kind of a cool shape-shifting alien. I'm kind of annoyed he got killed right off the bat. And then they get turned into zombies. That's interesting. I wonder what happened with the police officer and the horse who were sharing the hot dog in that montage of people eating hot dogs as they were eating it end to end. Did the horse become a zombie?
Who ate who first?
They were eating it together.
No, I mean when they became zombies, who ate who first?
Oh, yeah.
And Red Tool. Heard that name kind of somewhere before. Red Tool, was that the actual character's name?
According to the DC Wiki, that's what it was. I had to look him up, and I mean, when you look, it took me a while, but when you look at his speech bubbles, they are tool-shaped. I mean, they're handsaw-shaped, they're buzzsaw-shaped, they're screw-shaped. It took me quite a while to really pick up on that. I thought they were just strangely shaped.
I did too when I first read it.
Yeah.
And then when he gets bit, she just cuts his arm off.
Yeah.
Because he might be infected.
And then he has to correct her that I might have been infected. I wasn't sure I was infected. I might have been infected.
Yes. Let's see where this issue goes, where the series goes, because it was just a little bit too silly for me right now.
Yeah. I would love to see at some point, like a standalone origin issue for Harley. Because the origin she gave was pretty cool. It's an interesting twist on the classic origin with her going undercover. Changes her from just being the psychiatrist who falls under the Joker's spell, so to speak. But I was thinking about that a lot, and I realized the only real image that takes out is in all the classic origins, you always see Harley. There's that, the one night where the Joker breaks out and Batman brings him back and he's all bruised and bloodied and stuff. And you always see Harley holding him. She has her arms around him. She's glaring at Batman. And it's interesting that makes her, she's a little bit more powerful by going undercover. She's not just the supporter, and she's not quite as adversarial to Batman either. So that it establishes her as a really different character now. And probably closer to an anti-hero.
Yes.
Probably.
Yes. Let's see where this title goes, because right now, honestly, it's a little bit too silly for me, but there are some great plot points I think they left in there at the beginning. Suicide Squad Rebirth #1. Amanda Waller has a meeting with the president. The president wants to terminate the Suicide Squad. Waller convinces the president to let Task Force X continue, with Colonel Rick Flag leading them and being held accountable. She recruits Colonel Flag and has him released from Guantanamo Bay. Shows the squad on a mission to protect Mark Lindenberg, and I just butchered his last name, and getting him and his metabomb to safety. Well, this is just kind of your typical origin story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nothing too major going on either end.
Yeah. I found, the most major thing it really does is give Rick Flag a pretty decent, really nice new origin, making him a former decorated Army vet who just happens to run afoul of the wrong upper-level, high-powered person in the U.S. who discreetly sends him off to Guantanamo. And that gives him a really interesting avenue for leading the Suicide Squad. When they first say in this comic that, Rick Flag's currently at Gitmo, I'm sitting there like, huh? What? 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 What did he do? What happened? So
Yeah.
at least it makes him, it puts him on the criminal side, too. That he's been in, at least a part of the criminal justice system, just like the rest of his teammates.
Yes. One thing we'll talk about a little bit later when we get to the Batman titles, but how powerful is Amanda Waller?
Oh, man, I'd say next to Batman, she has to be like the most intimidating person in the DC universe. She can do anything. She can send supervillains to Gotham and get away with it.
Yes.
And she can send supervillains off to do whatever she wants, and it really isn't held accountable ever. That makes her a very tough character.
Yeah, at the beginning, the president was saying, I don't even know who funds this, who authorized this, who's being held accountable, but I want it to stop. And she says, no, you can't make it stop, because this is a squad that the Task Force X is there for when the Justice League can't be involved, when we can't be in these type of situations. And she makes sense, but she's scary powerful.
Yeah. And that comment does help to affirm where the Suicide Squad is in the DC universe. What role they play among the teams like the Justice League and the Teen Titans and stuff. They are, I think, to lack of a better term, the Black Ops Squad.
Yes.
The one that they go in and the government can't tell anyone about it because they probably don't want to tell anyone about it. Because chances are what they do, such as, chopping off a guy's hands, then shooting him in the head a couple seconds later.
Yes.
The guy they're supposed to rescue.
Well, they had to keep the metabomb out of harm's way, or out of the hands of the enemy, and I think they did that and a little bit too more.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely the most Machiavellian team we have in the DC universe.
Yes, in further issues, we'll see how the squad, how the dynamics between everyone, because you have Killer Croc, you have Harley Quinn, you have Captain Boomerang, you have Deadshot, you have Katana, and you have Colonel Rick Flag. Is there anyone else I'm missing out of that group?
I don't remember.
Was El Diablo part of that?
Probably. I think he is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I bet it would certainly be smart to mirror the lineup of the movie. Yeah. It'll be interesting, too, to see how this fits in with Harley's ongoing series.
Yes.
Because I've always seen the Suicide Squad kind of as being like work release from
Yes.
prison. And I mean, in Harley #1, she mentions that she's under surveillance. But that's like the question of, is this after she's done with the Suicide Squad? Will she be in Suicide Squad for a few issues and then
Yes.
be paroled or whatever? Who knows? We'll have to. I'll be interested to see how those all fit together.
Yes, those two I think will go in tandem in a little bit different ways. Suicide Squad will be interesting. Let's see further issues and how this dynamic goes.